Good evening and welcome to the United Stand. This is the latest Manchester United news and transfer news. Ollie or United linked with Ruben Neves, Gravenberch and somebody else as well. Also, Jadon Sancho dropped completely, not even making the bench for England. I want to talk about that tonight a little bit actually, because somebody said it on Twitter today and I think they're spot on. He says, does it not concern people that we're looking to spend £80 million on a winger that can't even get on England's bench because he's not good enough? And it made me think, well, no, I want to sign Sancho, but actually that is quite a good point. Let's delve into that as well. Also, Calvin Phillips, want to talk about him. And basically, I was just laughing when I came on live there because I just put a tweet out saying I'd take that North Macedonian CDM. I haven't seen a CDM for any of the countries I've watched in the Euros so far that I wouldn't take over McFred. So it is a running joke, but there aren't many that I wouldn't take. I want to talk a little bit about Martial as well. Also want to talk about Kieran Trippier. We're in a battle for Kieran Trippier, and I would say, why would you ever be in a battle for Kieran Trippier? Why would you be wasting time on Atletico Madrid for Kieran Trippier? Apparently they're digging their heels in that they want a really good price for him. He's a backup right back. We've got first team spots to fill. Why would you get into a battle spending weeks or even 10 minutes trying to get Trippier? It's either 15 million off and here you come, or it's forget about it. So we'll talk about that one as well in a few minutes' time. But we're going to start off. We'll start off with. We'll start off with the midfield as well, actually, because there's a story coming out of Spain about Juventus and Manchester United looking at Saul Niguez. But I think the Gravenberch Marvin AM is a perfect Pogba replacement, but he's not a specialist CDM, just like Neves. Exactly. I think that's one of the first things I wanted to say, and I'm thanks for bringing that up, Marvin. Ruben Neves, Saul Niguez, Ryan Gravenberch at Ajax. They're not specialist CDMs. None of them are. They're just midfielders. Like, you know, you could almost say that that's what Donny is. So it doesn't solve the problem of a specialist centre defensive midfielder. And I think that, look, a lot of people would have watched England today. I was very impressed with Calvin Phillips. A lot of you have mentioned Calvin Phillips over the season, but I'm old school and I'm thinking, well, why would a lad from Leeds come to Manchester United? Isn't that the rivalry they have towards us is pretty big? We can do it, and we have done it in the past with Alan Smith, who was a very, very proud Leeds player as well. So it can happen, but I don't know. And again, Phillips today, Declan Rice was the one sitting next to him, not Calvin Phillips. So again, are you looking at more of a midfielder there, like you are with others? And of course, Holland. I always call them Holland. The Netherlands are playing tonight at 8 o'clock. In fact, I'm doing a watch along on That's Football. I've dropped a link in the video description. So Gravenberch, I think, will probably start. In fact, we may even know if he's already starting in that game. So he's a player worth watching. But yeah, we're sort of talking about this. I mean, it came from 90 Minutes this morning that Manchester United really do want to sign Declan Rice, but they're Gravenberch is not actually starting for Holland, by the way, for the Netherlands. Wijnaldum, De Jong and Darun are their midfielder. Gravenberch is on the bench. But Weghorst is playing. That's Harry Potter's mate, isn't it? He's playing up front. Interesting. Anyway, but yeah, so 90 Minutes this morning saying that Manchester United really want to get Declan Rice, but they feel they could get Ruben Neves for half of the price of Rice. You know what? They're very different players. It's like Calvin Phillips is similar to Ruben Neves. Gravenberch is probably similar to Ruben Neves. Saul Niguez is similar to Ruben Neves. They're basically CMs. They're CMs. They're centre midfielders. Doesn't mean they couldn't do a job as the person taking the ball off the back, but especially centre defensive midfielder is basically what Manchester United need to get. And I think that Ruben Neves probably could do that role because he plays in the pivot. And the difference is, I think Gravenberch, Ruben Neves, Saul Niguez, Calvin Phillips, they could all play where McFred play, and that's the thing. They're all better. I mean, McTominay's not a CDM and Fred's not a CDM. We're looking to replace. If you're looking to replace, all those players are better. If you're looking for a specialist, then I don't think any of those players are the specialist CDM that you need to replace an Nemanja Matic or somebody like that. So that's the issue for me. Gravenberch is obviously 19. I agree with what Marvin AM said. He has got those sort of Paul Pogba vibes. He is a Mino Raiola client. There was a story, Liverpool like Gravenberch basically, and I was reading this morning that a Liverpool source was saying that Manchester United are planning to speak to Mino Raiola about Gravenberch when they speak about Pogba. I mean, you can't not get Mino Raiola clients. Erling Haaland. You can't not get them because you don't like Mino Raiola. He's got a lot of good clients, so maybe Man United will have that conversation. Ruben Neves, of course, upheaval at Wolves. and he's also going to be obviously playing in the Euros, so we'll be able to have a look at him. But I'm just encouraged that Manchester United might actually be looking at some midfielders. That's what pleases me. So the fact that there is stories around Gravenberch, there are stories around Ruben Neves, there are stories around Sol Niguez, we always get linked to, Declan Rice. Reyes says, isn't Zakaria cheaper than Rice? Oh, probably more than half cheaper. I think Zakaria you would get for 35 million. I'm a big fan of Zakaria. I hope that he comes to Manchester United, but if he doesn't come to Manchester United, I hope that he goes to Spurs or somewhere like that and does really well. I'm convinced he will be a good player. I really do think he'll be a good player in the Premier League. But are Manchester United looking to do that? Probably not. Basuma is another player we know of as well. I like those players. So yeah, I would like to. I would like us to bring a player like that in. I really, really would. I'm just going to say this while I remember as well. Thank you to everybody who's sent in a clip. I say everybody. We've had about 10 in. I only mentioned it in passing in the last show. So obviously, new end of the season, start of a new season coming. There's normally a few changes involving United Stand, but more importantly, we did it 6 months ago and we're doing it now again. This is how Beth ended up on the channel. This is how Jordan ended up on the channel. So you can email us a clip to that'sfootballmedia@gmail.com. .com. That'sfootballmedia@gmail.com. Send us a couple of minutes, or even a minute. A minute might be easier actually. Just do a minute, because it would be a smaller file size of your opinion on United under Ollie. That's absolutely fine. It can be Ollie in, it can be Ollie out, it can be Ollie out. On Ollie, 1 minute. Send us a clip to that'sfootballmedia@gmail.com. What we are looking for is try and think about why you would be suitable to be on the United Stand. If you are using dial-up internet on a Nokia 3210, then it's not going to be for you. If you're using a decent webcam on a laptop with a decent background and everything like that, then it might be something that we can work with. But look, we can't. You've got to bring something. You've got to bring something, and you could be the next whoever. And honestly, the last 2 people we've brought onto the show, that's how we did it. So we're looking again in the summer. We're always looking, but it's hard to say it every month. So we do it sort of every 6 months. So we're always looking. And if you are interested, whether you're a professional background or you're just starting out, let us know. That's footballmedia@gmail.com. Send us a minute, Ollie in or out, and we'll take a look. You've got to be. You can't do it. No, we're not taking any kids on. No, you can't be 10. You can't be 10. Darren G says, "Do you get paid?" I mean, don't bother sending one in, Darren, if you're a bit of a prick like that. Audition Bridge says Ram. Let's go. So let's talk about Jadon Sancho. I'm interested in this point. So Jadon Sancho was today dropped by England. Now, we're whizzing through this show tonight because I am going to be on That's Football just after 7:30 with Craig from Anfield Agenda, where I think it's going to be a good laugh watching the Holland-Ukraine game. But we are having to move the 8 o'clock show to 7 o'clock, so that's why we're live at 7 o'clock. But, let's have a chat about this Jadon Sancho thing. So he's been dropped by England today. Trippier played at left back over Luke Shaw. Shocking. But Chilwell and Sancho were not on the bench. Now, UEFA rules are that you've got to have 2 goalkeepers on the bench for some reason. So Sancho did not make the bench because Southgate didn't want to put him on the bench. And his excuse was balance on the bench. But a reality is that he's probably not on the bench because he's not good enough. Saka's on the bench. Sancho's not on the bench. So that comment I saw on Twitter today, why are Manchester United fans not concerned about spending £80 million on a player that apparently is a superstar but can't even get on the bench for England? And are you concerned about that? Are you concerned that Manchester United are going to spend £80 million on a right winger that can't, or on an attacker that can't even make England's bench? And more importantly, is Southgate wrong not to put him on the bench? And you know what? I've got to be honest. Every time I've seen Sancho playing for England recently, I've probably seen him play 3 or 4 times in the last year because I don't watch all of England's games. He hasn't done anything. He hasn't done anything. So I'm like, I don't think Southgate's wrong not to put him on the bench in the sense that he should be starting for England. This is a player that people talk about being one of the top 5 players in the world. Not at the moment, but potentially. This is a player who's a baller. This is a player, you know, he's going to be United's next number 7. He's going to be a marquee signing. Can't even get on the bench for England. Why? Why is he not able to show this talent there? So I'm not concerned, because most of what I've seen of Sancho has been Champions League and Bundesliga football for Dortmund, and I think he's a fantastic player. A fantastic player, I really do. And somebody said, well, what's Foden done for England? I think Foden's had a... I think Foden's had not been around as long as Sancho, even though they're around the same age. But I really do want Sancho at Manchester United, and I'm very, very excited about it. The angle I would take is it's not the spending of the £80 million that worries me. That's not what worries me. It's the expectation. It's the expectation. With Bruno Fernandes, I expected him to hit the ground running and knew a lot about his career before he came. I mean, we were talking about him on here for about 18 months before it happened. With Jadon Sancho, I just worry that people are going to expect the world and they're not going to get delivered that straight away. As somebody said, he's a young lad. He's a young lad, and there is still growth in this player. You are buying a very exceptional talent, but he is a young lad. And will the Premier League, will the English media, will even some United fans put too much weight on the fee and the talent, and then when it doesn't deliver, you know, a world-class goal every game, they're like, oh, you know, what have we done here? Because basically that's exactly what's happening with England. He comes to play for England and he's not delivering for England. So I'm in no way am I saying no, we shouldn't buy Sancho. I'm worried about him being a flop. But what I am worried about a little bit is that the expectation might be really high. Here's the number 7 shirt for Jadon Sancho. Can't even get on the bench for England. But he's going to be the best player in the Premier League. I think that might not happen. He might be a player that becomes an absolute Manchester United icon. But I wouldn't necessarily expect that to happen in his first season. It might do, and I hope it does. But, you know, there is still that inconsistency in Sancho's game. And that is what Man United fans need to have in their head, because we will be signing this lad. He will be becoming one of our own, and we've got to be very, very supportive of players like that, who are young players with big expectations and big fees around their shoulders, because we know what external clubs will be doing. He has one bad game in his first 3 or 4, it'll be a flop, you know, on social media, in the press. So that's the only thing I would say, is that, look, he's not the complete article, and he's not Jadon Sancho, the superstar, yet. And if he was, he'd be starting for England, let alone being on their bench. But I want it to happen. Mark, I have a CDM in Rice over Neves and Varane, says Victor Liang. And Lewandowski does nothing nationally, and he's the best striker in the world, says Stephen Willocks. I can't even explain, Stephen, how that has no relevance to what I've just said, but, you know, as long as it makes sense to you. Gravenberch is a baller. I'd be happy with him. Sancho and Varane this summer. One for the future. Don't worry about Sancho. He's United ready, says Shame to Win. I mean, look, I am worried about his mentality, Mark, says Advath. We saw when Sancho did not get the move to Manchester United last summer. He went through a bad patch of form. I mean, I think that's just being a young lad, to be honest with you. I think the lack of strength in United's right wing would actually help Sancho, because he would easily be the best player at the club, says Adichie. I think that's a great point as well. He's not going to have any competition for places, is he? So he will get to play a lot. Tejas says that has relevance, Mark. Well, no, it doesn't have relevance to me. If it has relevance to you, well done. But how can you compare what I've just said about Jadon Sancho? Basically, what I said about Jadon Sancho is, does it concern you that we're going to spend £80 million on a player that can't get on England's bench? And then somebody said, well, Lewandowski doesn't play well for Poland. Lewandowski's one of the world's best strikers, proven, and is, 30? How does that what has that relevance got to United spending £80 million on a player that can't get on England's bench? And what we're actually talking about there is that I think we all want to spend the £80 million, but what we're actually saying is, let's not expect the earth, because he's still a very young lad, and we've got to protect him from the media and from rival fans and some of our own fans, that when he comes in and he doesn't necessarily set the world on fire straight away, they're like, oh, he's a flop. I think the England thing shows that he's not at that level yet where he's bang, 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 consistent. And why would he be? Is Rashford consistent? No. I think when you're 25, you're looking at consistency. But I think that's the important message. He's not. He's still a young player. I still agree with us paying £80 million for him. I still agree with us buying him. I think he's a fantastic player. But I think it does highlight, and probably for a good reason, it drops into United fans' heads that, oh, why is he not on the bench for England then? Oh, and it's not a travesty. It's not, you know, I can see why Southgate hasn't got him on the bench because he hasn't been playing that well. Personally, I would have him over there over Xhaka, but doesn't mean he's a bad player. Doesn't mean we shouldn't buy him. It just means that what we need to be is potentially a little bit open-minded to the fact that he's a young lad and we shouldn't expect another Bruno to come in because Bruno was, what, 24 when we got him? So there's a big difference there. Mark, are you doing some Copa America watch-alongs? No, I'm not, Matthias, but I am on That's Football at 8 o'clock, so you can join me on there for that game. Stephen Willock says, of course it makes sense to what you just said. You don't need to do bits internationally to be the best at a club level. Stephen, I've just absolutely explained it. If you can't open your ears and see what I'm saying, I cannot. You can only lead a horse to water. You've got to drink it. How you can compare Lewandowski or international form to what I have just said on this video about spending money on a player that's not the complete article, and would that concern you? That's what we're talking about. We're not delving into whatever world you want to talk about whether players play well internationally. Because I can go down that road, fella. I can go down that road. Steven Gerrard never really did it for England. John Barnes never really did it for England. Paul Scholes never really did it for England. So we can have the conversation about people not doing it for England. What I'm telling you is Jadon Sancho doesn't deserve to be on England's bench at the moment because his form is a little bit up and down. How does that impact on Manchester United? Because people need to probably lower their expectation that they think he's going to hit the ground running and just be the best thing since sliced wet bread and win the Ballon d'Or and Player of the Year. That might happen. Hopefully it will happen. But there might be a bit of adjustment because he's still a young lad. How has that got anything to do with international form? It doesn't. Would you take... oh, God. I tell you what, I wish I'd never read that tweet this afternoon because now I've got somebody saying, so if you're on England's bench, does that mean you're good enough for Man United? And people are saying you should buy Ben White. They're not. You're either trolling or you're thick. Basically, that's it. We've got to move on. Life's too short. Different point of view. McTominay and Fred wouldn't make it onto England's bench either. Oh, my God. Oh, my God. What? I just don't know. I just have to move on. I have to move on. Life is too short. Martial. Do we talk about Martial? We do talk about Martial, but I wanted to talk about Trippier. That's what I wanted to talk about. Kieran Trippier. So this is coming from Spain that Atletico Madrid are not going to let Kieran Trippier leave Atletico Madrid without a fight, and that they want a lot of money for him. I tell you what we're going to do. We're going to pick up that international argument on That's Football with Craig in about 20 minutes on That's Football. I will pick that up again because like this stream is going to be too short if we spend too much time on that. So I will re-pick that up if it's important to you on That's Football for the Netherlands versus Ukraine when I've got Craig from Anfield Agenda because he might have your back. But anyway, Trippier. Atletico Madrid don't want to let him go. They've mentioned a release clause of €40 million, which is about £32 million if Manchester United want to buy Kieran Trippier. Therefore, Manchester United are facing a battle for Kieran Trippier. I watched Kieran Trippier play today. I thought he was fucking shite. I thought he was absolute shit. But I think that's because he's playing as a right back at left back and Southgate's a prat. But we're buying Trippier to be a backup right back. We are not needing to get into a battle with Atletico Madrid for a backup right back. We've got Pogba's future. We've got a goalkeeping situation. We've got Lingard. We've got a centre-back. We've got Sancho. And we've got a CDM that are 6 pieces of essential business. Before you even start thinking about Pereira, Mata, Matic, Phil Jones and anything else. So why would we waste any more than an email on Trippier and Atletico Madrid? Write an email. We will give you £15 million for Kieran Trippier now if we can get this deal done quick. And if they reply with, you've got a battle, you just put it in your spam and forget about it. We should not be wasting any time on a transfer battle with Atletico Madrid for Kieran Trippier. I would like him to come to United and provide competition for Aaron Wan-Bissaka, but I can think of 6 off the top of my head that can come into United and be a backup right back for Kieran Trippier. For Aaron Wan-Bissaka. We should not, in a summer like this, where we've got so much to do, Do you think it's a good idea to be negotiating with Atletico Madrid for an overpriced backup right back? No, we shouldn't. It's either simple or it's not. But it's not a battle, and it's not, for me, it's just a pimped up Tom Heaton. Tom Heaton, welcome to the club. Speak to you in about 6 months. I don't want any fanfare. I don't want any news articles about it. At the end of the day, you're a reserve goalkeeper that I never really want to see playing. I'm more than happy to see you smiling on the training ground photos and everything like that. And welcome to the club, and we all really like you. But we've got more important things to do. Can this wait? It's like folding up your pants when you've got no trousers and they need washing and ironing. Like, that's great. It's great that you enjoy that. I've got real things to do. I've got to get some trousers on. So, Kieran Trippier, nice little deal. Fight it out with Wan-Bissaka. 15 million quid. Let's do it if it's quick. But if it's going to take me a long time, no. More important things to be focused on. So, yeah, I'm a little bit worried about the Trippier thing now because it seems it's turning into a big deal. And it's not. What's a big deal about buying a backup right back? Is it a priority to you? No, it's not to me. Need a CDM over anything, says Yo Neymar. And that frees up McTominay to play in his natural position, the bench. And hopefully we get to see what everyone else at the club sees in him. Now, on a serious note, Scott McTominay is a box-to-box player, isn't he? Mark, even Bruno wasn't a regular starter for Portugal. He was always on the bench. Look at him now, playing for United. There is no better motivation. I don't think you understand, Sagar, but well done. As long as it's making you happy, keep going on. What's wrong with Dalot, says Ashish. Well, Dalot is in the Euros. I said it last week, and it actually came to pass. He's in the Euros. Dalot is in the Euros with the Portuguese squad, which is absolutely fantastic. So well done to him. The problem with Dalot is, I'll tell you what the problem with Dalot is, Ollie doesn't rate him as part of his plan. Doesn't mean he's a bad player. This morning, you wake up, what happens? You wake up this morning and people are going, why did United sell Lukaku? Every time Lukaku scores a goal, all you ever see is, wow, Ollie's a Wally. Why did he sell Lukaku? Oh, yeah, when we had Lukaku, those same people were saying, get rid of Lukaku, he's got trampoline toes. You can't win. But the reality is, Lukaku is a good player, and Dalot is probably a good player. But it doesn't mean Ollie has to use them. Because Lukaku wouldn't have fitted into United's way of playing. It wouldn't. Ollie wants an attacker that can hold the ball up and be part of the play, a bit like Harry Kane can. Lukaku isn't really that player, and if he's become that player, then he wasn't that player when he was at United. He was a very frustrating player. His first touch was Sainsbury's car park, and he was Timberland boots. If he's improved it, well done. But Ollie just didn't fancy that sort of a striker. And also, to be fair to Ollie, he wanted to go with Martial and Rashford. He didn't want to go with Lukaku, and Lukaku didn't want to be on the bench. And I think that's basically what Lukaku left for. With Dalot, you've got a good player, but Ollie just for whatever reason doesn't trust him, and it might be defensively. It might be defensively that he doesn't trust Dalot. Because one thing about Wan-Bissaka is, all right, he's not great going forward at times, but defensively he's pretty solid. All right, positionally he does make a few mistakes, but I don't think there's anything wrong with Dalot. I just don't think he's Ollie's cup of tea. If you have your mates round now to watch the Holland match and you say, who wants a beer, and one of them goes, don't really like beer, but I will have a drink, I'll have a cider. And I think that's what Ollie's like. He's like, I like Dalot, but it's just not it's not the drink I want. I want a Trippier, a gin and tonic, or Wan-Bissaka. What can Wan-Bissaka be? Vodka Red Bull. I don't know. I couldn't think of anything. So there you go. Let's talk about Martial very, very quickly then, because we are coming towards... I've got to go live on That's Football soon. Anthony Martial, one thing I wanted to bring up. I've not really spoken about Martial leaving United. I know it came from... I think it was Duncan Castles, wasn't it? Talking about Real Madrid and everything. But one thing I haven't heard anybody speak about that I did want to bring in. That apparently Duncan Castles said in his article that Ollie is getting tired of Martial's attitude and would be willing to let him go. This, to me, is something that keeps happening all the time. And I always fight against it because I don't think it's right. I don't think it's fair to bring... And look, some of you will do. But I've always fought against this Martial attitude thing because we've heard it from numerous people in the media. One, I think it's irrelevant. And two, I think it's unfair and unfounded. I'm pretty good at reading personalities. And I'm sure many of you are as well. Anthony Martial, right? What's wrong with Anthony Martial? He's clearly not a bad-looking lad, and yet he's never really doing Pepsi or Adidas or anything like that. He doesn't really do a lot of, marketing things, and yet he clearly could. Foden's doing it, and Sancho's doing it, Pogba's doing it, Lingard's doing it. Why couldn't Anthony Martial be doing it? But he doesn't do it. And to me, I think Anthony Martial, from the interviews I've seen with him and the way he conducts himself, I think he's a bit of a quiet lad. I think he's a bit quiet. Maybe a bit shy, I don't know. But I think he's quite a reserved, quiet lad. That's not bad attitude. That is not a bad attitude. I remember when I was like 14, I was painfully shy. People were like, I can't believe it. Well, I was. And some people used to think it was rudeness. It's not. It's just that you're not that comfortable in situations where everyone's looking at you or something like that. So I don't like it when a player has a negative I don't like it when there's a negative opinion on a football player because of an attitude that nobody could know unless they actually personally knew him. And if the club was leaking that, or Solskjaer was leaking that, that's bang out of order as well. A footballer should be judged on what they're doing on the football pitch. Speculation about them having a moody attitude, I don't think that helps, because, if one of your friends says, such and such across the road, they're proper rude, it's going to make you have a negative feeling about them. But if your mate says, such and such from across the road, they can only do 10 keep-ups, you'd go, well, they're not that good at football then, are they? What has Martial's attitude got to do with anything? And it paints a negative picture against Martial, and I don't like that. Last year he was Player of the Year. This year he didn't do particularly well. Was everyone moaning about his attitude a year ago when he was Player of the Year? No, because he was performing on the pitch. Now he's not performing on the pitch. Everyone's moaning about his attitude. What the hell has it got to do with his football? None of these media outlets and none of these fans were moaning about Martial's attitude when he was scoring goals and he was our best player. But now he's not good. He's got a bad attitude. It's a bad attitude. And what's that got to do with anything? And it's a stigma that is attached to Anthony Martial. I don't think it's fair. Whether he leaves the club or not, I don't think it's right. And I don't like to read it because I don't think he's the sort of lad that's going to come out and say anything to protect himself against that. But I don't think it's nice. And I think a lot of people, Paul Pogba and a few other players at United, have spoken. And Juan Mata loves Anthony Martial. Juan Mata and Anthony Martial get on really, really well. Juan Mata's one of the nicest guys you'll ever know. Like, I've met Mata, we've all seen what Mata's like, and Mata loves Martial. So, attitude. Where is this attitude story coming from? Between Diallo or Sancho, who has a higher ceiling? I don't know, I've never been round their house, Lincoln Designs. Hi Mark, if we sign Gravenberch, he will be same as Donny van der Beek. He will be benched and Ollie won't start him, says Vizia. I don't think we'll sign Gravenberch. I don't think we will. I think coming from Ajax, knowing what's happened to Donny van der Beek and being a Mino Raiola client, it makes it virtually impossible. But on Sancho or Diallo, who's got the higher ceiling? The honest answer is, and this is credit to Diallo, I don't know. I think a year ago I would have said Sancho, but Sancho's a fantastic talent. But so is Diallo. I think that the game for me for Diallo that made me really take notice was when we played him as a false nine against Wolves. Because I know he's a winger and I know he can do well off the wing. But when he played that false nine position against experienced Wolves centre-backs like Connor Cody, I think, was playing, I was like, that is a player. That is a player there. That is a talent. And he's 18. He's younger than Sancho. So I think we've got a proper player there in Diallo. And I think it's nice that people are not talking about Diallo as much because I think he's going to be absolutely fantastic. Arsenal want Van der Beek. Who would you swap him for, says Pisco? At Arsenal? No. I don't know. I genuinely don't know. I don't know, but I'm excited about Diallo. I really am. Anyway, look, I've got to go. But remember, I'm going to be on That's Football in about 3 minutes' time. We've got a watch along for the Netherlands. We might get to see a bit of Gravenberch. Also, Martial isn't active on social media. Probably decline any interview, even for MUTV. Possibly doesn't sell much shirts, so the Glazers trying to get rid of him. So shame. Well, apparently one of the Glazers loves Martial as well, wouldn't it? Because they wouldn't let Mourinho sell him. So busy boy market is busy on the Euros, but we will be back in the morning with the morning show. Obviously, we'd go live if anything happens, but I really don't. I heard somebody was saying Sancho's going to sign in the next few hours. Bollocks. What a load of shite. What a load of crap. I don't know when it's going to happen, but it's not going to happen in the next few hours, is it? What? It's happened? No, I'm joking. And as I said, if you feel that you can professionally put yourself forward to be a United Stand member or in front of camera, 1 minute clip about being Ollie in or out or what you think about Ollie, to that'sfootballmedia@gmail.com. And remember, if you're looking to join the show, you got to be thinking, have I got the setup? Have I got the internet? Have I got the personality? Send it in and we'll take a look. Professional or amateur, it doesn't matter. Thanks for watching. Speak to you on That's Football, and we'll carry on with this bloody international debate on there in about 5 minutes. See you in a minute, and the link's in the video description for That's Football if you want to just go through that.